Patel.
Well, with a bit of imagination, we could imagine that to be South Africa. Dusty, it's hot, it's a Ford Fiesta, but it's not an S2000 and it's not from South Africa. We are very privileged tonight to have our second program in the build up to the Safari Rally, which is returning to the World Rally Championship. And tonight we have the honor to speak to a young talent from Kenya. And I think without further ado, we must introduce Karan Patel.
Hello, guys.
Good evening to you, Karan. I'm still going to try and get my tongue around this Karan, but we'll get there. But it's indeed a privilege to have you on air tonight. We'll be joined by Clint Lingeveld. He's unfortunately got a bit of a problem getting on air tonight. But yes, where do we start with you? You are an aviation man, so we see the Ford flying in the background, R2. You were in the World Championship representing Kenya. That in itself must have been quite a great privilege.
It really was, and we really did learn a lot. It's really improved a lot in my driving and my technique and my preparation, and it's been a life-changing experience to take part in the WRC events for sure.
Well, I want to start at the beginning. You're an unfamiliar name to us, unfortunately, in South Africa. There's not much contact with you as a rallying country. We'd like to change that with this program. Take us to the start of your career. What made you take an interest in motorsport? Not rallying. Where did it all start for you, and in what?
So it all started from an interest I had in bikes, which was developed through some efforts by my dad to take me to the track and have a go on some motorbikes that his friend owned. And there's that feeling I think I got when I first rode a bike, and to be honest, I felt quite at home and very comfortable on the bike, and that's where it started with us. We got a bike my dad got a bike for me. It wasn't up to par with what the competition had. It was a 50cc and it was the right category. Actually, it was a 65, and it was the right size of bike for me, but it wasn't a competition prepared bike, so very sluggish. And we I rode that for some time, did a lot of practicing, and then 85cc was the next step for me. By then I was a bit big for normal 85cc bikes, so we got a big wheel bike, which actually came from South Africa, so proud about that. And the Honda did take us quite far. A lot of engine rebuilds, I think, is typical with motocross. Very dusty environments, riding, and a lot of hard times, a lot of falling down, a lot of accidents, and that's how I became better and better. Obviously, you must make mistakes. If you're not pushing the boundaries, then you can't really make mistakes. I think that's the right thing to say. So bikes it was. Up to the point where I did accomplish the title of East African Motocross Champion for the 85cc category, and that final race took place in Uganda. So we did head over to the Ugandan racetrack. I forget the name, but after that, then I think I was of age to move on to the important parts of life, which is studying and getting some education, and it was also equally important for my parents that I did obviously follow a typical path for a young boy, which is to get a good education. So thankfully, we stopped riding and went away to uni. Well, to school for my O levels, my A levels, and then away to uni, and then that's when my dad uh, took part in a rally while I was studying in university for a degree in aircraft maintenance. So when that happened, obviously I got very excited because my dad's taking part in a rally and he was co-driving, and it's then this interest grew once again in motorsports for me. So I was given the a sort of ultimatum whereby obviously I need to put my head down, and then and perform well at university, move back home, get a job, and once all that was accomplished, then we received. Well, I got my first rally car, which was a Impreza GC8, a very yellow one, and that was the start then for the rallying.
Well, let's welcome Clint Lingeveld. I see you back on air again, Clint. Clint still doesn't want to speak to us by the looks of things.
Yeah, frozen.
Uh, Karan, please take us. What age did you actually do the motocross? What age did you win the 85cc championship? Because you made it sound like you were still a scholar when you did that.
Yeah, I was still in school. If I remember correctly, I must have been around 13, 14. I mean, I can't do the maths, but it was uh, in the year 2005, so
Okay.
quite a while back.
And
And
you went
yeah,
studying in the UK, and you mentioned now that is an important element, which is only correct that it should be your priority should be with studies and qualifying yourself. But now
mhm.
it's quite a contrast from racing motorcycles in the dust. You had an interest in a very clean and clinical environment, and that is aircraft maintenance.
Yeah. So planes are my passion. Actually, I've grown up around planes. My dad was a pilot. I was born into a family where my dad is always flying and, talking about planes. Well, I'm always seeing him in his uniform. I know he's going flying, and we just literally been surrounded by planes my whole life. And my personality, from school, I could judge that I wouldn't be a good pilot. I'm always very fidgety and very, always looking for some buttons to press, and this just swayed me away from being a pilot and sitting on a commercial flight for 8 hours. I don't think I'd be able to do it.
But you wouldn't mind preparing the aircraft for a person to do so, and that is a
Yeah,
very 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 important element of it. Maintenance on aircraft, it's like maintenance on a rally car. It's non-negotiable. It's perfect or it isn't.
yeah, very very well said. And it's a very good feeling when you know that the responsibility is there. You are in charge, obviously, and I love anything with engines and wheels, and just mechanics is my passion. Taking things apart, yeah, very very good technical hardware knowledge.
You look pretty much intact after many years of motocross. In other words, what I'm trying to say, you didn't break many bones that I can see. You look pretty normal. I'm only joking when I'm saying that. But what I'm trying to get to, you are now in the field of non-destructive testing. Was that part of what you learned in motorcycling, is to stay intact, and only grow a few small minor cracks that you can find in interesting ways?
Well,
NDT
I think
NDT is a very very interesting field to be in. I must say, it's so I can understand where that interest comes from.
yeah, and with I mean, yes, it doesn't look like I've done much motocross in my life given the non-damaged structure, but I guess I didn't try hard enough then. So some could say, but you know, it was a very very good experience riding bikes, falling down, getting hurt. Few pulled muscles, and maybe a fracture once, nothing major, touch wood, but it really does take the fear out. And sitting in a car is then a lot more comfortable. And yeah, like you said, the NDT is now my passion. So very very effective way of testing. And it's a field I'm very passionate about. We're actually dealing directly with South Africa from the Chemical plant. So we're very, very strong business relations and motocross background and historic memories with South Africa, proudly.
Well, I'm hoping that's hinting towards us seeing you in action in South Africa somewhere in the future.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, hopefully for the ARC, it all depends on our budget. It all depends on how much we have left at the end of the season. We're always, it's been a very, very tough rise. Yes, the car is there and everything looks hunky dory, but we do really want to be champions. We do have a vision, and we are doing the best we can to accommodate for the necessary resources that are required. But we are bare minimum, and it's going to take time and good performance in order to win the trust and the confidence in financial investors for at least to market on the car.
Motorsport is a bit of a catch-22 situation. You have to have results to show a potential sponsor to take an interest. Yet you need the sponsor to first get to the position where you can get those results to impress him with. So it's a bit of an unfair world.
Yeah,
But
totally.
please take us back to you. You mentioned your father were navigating in a he did a single rally. Is that all it took to swing you towards the sport?
No, good question. So my dad's brother used to rally quite a lot in his good old days. He's still with us. He does support me a lot also financially. Unfortunately for him, his dad, which is my grandfather, so my dad's brother's dad, never actually supported him. With the rallying, he was very against it, and my uncle had to do this all on his own, and sneak the car out in the middle of the night for events the next day. And so that's it's been going on within the family for quite some time, starting with my dad's brother, and then my dad and his best friend began rallying, I would say, in and around 2010 and 11, and they did it quite consistently. They did, I think, about 3 seasons quite consistently, and that's how. I don't know if you know of a driver called Nikhil Sachanya.
No, I'm not familiar with him,
Okay,
unfortunately.
he's a paraplegic driver, so he's the only he's a part of our team actually. So Nikhil's dad and my dad are very good friends, and both Nikhil and I now have the privilege of being able to fill their shoes to some extent when it comes to sitting
That's
behind
good.
the wheel and driving. So yeah, so it started with my uncle, then to my dad taking part, and when it's your dad, you're like, hey, I want a piece of that cake, and thankful today to be able to say that we have the potential now to really perform.
Group N4 car seems to be very popular in Africa, and as you just mentioned, you started off with one of them.
Yeah, started actually with a Group S car, which was a 1998 ex-Baldev Chugger Subaru Impreza GC8 wagon. So it was a hatchback, and that was the first rally car. Um, and the Group S cars have come, from the Safari days, very very strong car in itself. So she was very reliable, and then from there we moved on to an Evo 10, and from there we moved into I guess you could count the Ford Fiesta R2T that we used for the WRC events, and then on to the R5 now.
Before we get to the modern era, I'd like you to discuss or tell us how the format of rallying in your era changed in Kenya. Obviously, the Safari rally was stopped after many, many years simply because it became unsafe. The whole format of rallying has changed. In other words, you're back to special stages now on closed roads. Did you experience the regular way of doing things in Africa on open roads? Did you start off in that era?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, we started off in 2014 at a training rally, but yeah, we did start in I would say that area that the era that you speak of, whereby not everything was on private roads. A lot of unsafe events and situations that would arise. Obviously, they're very very rare to do arise, but when it does, then when it's an event, it's actually unacceptable. So thankfully, we moved to fully private roads. But yes, we did start off, I guess, with public road rallies.
And then you went and did the WRC in the Ford that's on the picture behind you there now. Um, where did that decision come from? Is it simply a question to get more experience and develop yourself as a driver? Did you feel that's the best place to go to? I think personally that's an excellent series to be involved in. I'd like your perspective on that.
Okay, so with all due respect to the other drivers, and in all honesty, this idea to take part in this was it came about because I just had a lot of confidence in my driving, and I thought that we'd be able to take on the JWRC drivers, and it was a it was a surprise, uh, but rather a good surprise and I took it in a very positive way that I was the boy at the back of the pack when I was taking part in the events. You could put some of the blame on the fact that I was driving a left-hand drive car for the first time with a sequential gearbox. I think the main challenge was how to handle a front-wheel drive car, um, which I learned towards the end of my experience, maybe towards the fourth and the fifth WRC event that I took part in. But all in all, we went there thinking we're very, very fast and a very, very strong team, but we learned the hard way that there was a lot of work for us to do. We analyzed very, very like a small, well, not small, I would say, like we were checking our split time, seeing how my performance is along the day, how they're going, just analyzing all the parameters we could really and see where we need to improve. And like I mentioned at the beginning, when the show was being introduced, it's really benefited us in more ways than I could have ever expected, just having done those events. So very thankful to have been given that opportunity.
Well, it takes a courageous man to make the statement you just made. No driver likes to admit that he had to sort of crawl before he could walk again and run. But the JWRC is top of the log. You're taking on the big guns there, and um, it's great to see the attitude you have with it in the sense that you're willing to learn, stand up, and fight the battle. Um, Other elements in the JWRC that I find interesting, did you make use of your own navigator from Kenya? And also, how did the actual navigation element of it differ from what you were used to? Karan, you can hear me? Oh, I think we've lost. Hi, Clint, you back again, and you're moving.
Hi, Patrick. Yes, I do apologize. Some technical issues. I had a backup plan, but it seems like my backup plan was also dependent on my
Well,
original source. But
I see.
hi,
Well,
Karan.
great to see him back on again as well. Now, Karan, I don't know if you heard what I was asking.
No, just repeat yourself kindly.
Okay, JWRC. That's a tough world. They make you work for everything there. But
Yeah.
did you take your regular navigator with you? Did you have an international navigator there? And also the type of navigation. Was it a big adaptation from what you learned in Kenya? Put us in your shoes, going there as the rookie, um,
Yeah.
and help us swim through it.
Well, yeah, definitely. We did definitely go there as a rookie with not much expected of us. So um, it was difficult, obviously, mentally to overcome the situation. It's a very new environment for it was for all of us, really. I didn't use the co-driver I was using at that time, simply because I felt that, it being a WRC event, the both of us would have really been learning along the way, and with the investment we were making to do this event, we didn't really see the you know the window to allow for such a learning experience, whereby you're just both going there to start learning new things. And we saw it best that to make the most of the investment, we invest a bit more into professional co-driver who has very good and conversant experience with the WRC, rules, just the basics of even just timekeeping and being a co-driver. So we elected to go down the route of, let's say, hiring a professional co-driver, which there are quite many out there. And this particular gentleman was called Phil Hall, and Phil actually made me a very very timely person, I suppose, because he wouldn't even accept a minute or two late, and that is now what I expect from my co-driver. And I was always the latecomer, and Phil was waiting for me, looking at his watch all the time, and obviously just feel like a bit of a douche not being there. And now I know what it feels like, because I struggled also with some of the co-drivers I sat with after I sat with Phil, because I expected some kind of professionalism now that I came back from sitting with him. So like I said, there's so many things we learned from this that I never thought I would learn. So it's, for all of us as a family, thankfully I have my mom and my dad and my brother, and they're always there at all the events. So they came for those events too, and it's eye-opening for all of us.
It's fantastic to see the effect that it had on you. And that's what you want to bring back to your country. You want to take that experience and let the others learn through you again, and develop the sport in your own country. I would love to see or hear from you what is being done in Kenya to put another Karan Patel on the scene. Is there a process in place? Is there opportunity for a young team to come through and one day stand in your shoes where you are now?
It's funny that you ask that, because I do have let's say a new lifelong dream. My actual my vision is to do my best and try and be the Africa Rally champion, try and be a champion within our borders, also here in Kenya, because the Kenyan drivers, I do respect them a lot. They've come a long way from when Tapio was here in Kenya teaching us how to drive, basically not physically and not literally, but he did show us that we were all sleeping, and the pace has come up a lot. So I'm not sure of other programs in place. We do have let's say free navigator and co-driver training classes. I hear speculative rumors about a sort of rally school coming to the country, but it is my wish and my aspiration to build a rally school, not sell the rally cars that we have, accumulate them if financially possible, and then build a rally school whereby I've made a name for myself as a champion. So obviously, then people have some confidence in the training that we'll provide.
Great goal to have. I really have to say I admire that. That's Clint. There's work for you to be done. Yeah.
That's really, really ambitious. And Karan, thanks for coming on to the show again, and I apologize for being late. What I wanted to chat to you about is that you've obviously come through the ranks in Kenya when your dad was your first Subaru, and then obviously in the JWRC. But which events, or maybe for the benefit of the audience, have you done in the JWRC? And then maybe just talk us through in terms of how different is the different terrain, and also how the weather changes and how you have to adapt with all these changes.
So is that with reference to the safari?
Well, we'll come to the safari, right? It's a leading question.
Sorry. I'm having a bit of difficulty hearing you, Clint. Maybe if you could bring the mic a bit closer to your mouth. It's a bit.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you a bit better, yeah.
And now?
That's better, Clint.
Is that perfect?
No, you're still in your cave a little bit. Somehow there's just cut back on that echo. It's like you're speaking in a cave. But
Sorry, can you hear me now? Is that fine?
Yeah, perfectly. Yeah, it's better.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. It's when you switch between the different teams, and now all these. I live on the computer all day. So let me rephrase, or let me ask the question again. What I wanted to ask earlier, or was asking earlier, is if you can maybe take us through the different terrains, in the different rallies that you've competed, especially in the JWRC. Because, for example, the picture in the background is in Finland, and that is like the home of rally. And then compare the JWRC versus the Kenya terrain that you're used to.
Okay, I lost you for a second from the internet, just kept on switching Wi-Fi's. But I heard you mention the weather and the JWRC terrain.
Yep.
So it was a mix of everything. We started with Portugal, which is you could compare Portugal to a Kenyan stage, quite rough, quite twisty, quite loose. Had a big crash in Portugal. I learned a big lesson from that. And after that, I can't remember the order, but we had Poland. Poland was very high speed gravel. Although by the time you get into the stage with the R2s, you're actually driving in ruts, so to speak. It depends on the speed of the stage. Like Finland is fine. One of the favorite rallies I've done. No ruts there, not too much wheel spin. Very high speed. So Finland was very nice, very committing to the notes. Germany, full tarmac, a very different type of rally, a very new experiences, full tarmac, front wheel drive, lots of things to take in. So there was that. There was Portugal. There was Poland. Spain was half tarmac, half gravel. So that was very interesting, whereby we started off with the tarmac, I think, and then switched over to gravel. Big setup changes in the cars. So. And we experienced a lot of weather changes. Germany, hot and wet, and you're in the tarmac, on the tarmac in the forest, and there's mud all over the tarmac, so very slippery conditions. It's a hell of an experience, and compared to safari, I think safari is also unpredictable in itself, but it's it's very close, I think, to Turkey WRC round.
What do you expect from the return this year, Karan? What do you expect the safari to deliver this year? It's not going to be the endurance event it used to be. Yet, it's Africa. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be tough. It's going to be dusty. It's possibly going to be wet. It's possibly going to be rough. It normally throws everything at the teams. What do you expect from it, and what is your personal goal going into it with a new car this year?
So, the safari is already has a limited number of entries. I think that is down to the speed at which the stage is degrading. With the WRC cars going through these stages, it's going to make it very, very difficult for the back runners, only because the amount of torque that's being produced by the top WRC drivers and their cars really is really going to affect the experience we are going to have in the safari. So with respect to that, it's actually going to be a bit different to what we're normally used to, because we're normally, like, I would be fifth on the road maybe, or third or second on the road. So, and then there's the second loop, which is really bad. But I'm sure you get what I'm saying, is that yeah, if it's dry, it's still going to be messy, because some stages are full of very, very fine sand. So teams will not, maybe they might be expecting it if they've done good some homework, I suppose, from last year's experience, and there were observers there from last year. So I'm sure that they've picked up these pointers. But it's so I think the Kenyan roads, when you compare to let's say the roads I've driven on in the World Rally Championship, I think we're quite narrow when it comes to the stage width, and that's one of the things I felt. Some drivers, mainly the new drivers that come to the region to race, they suffer a lot, because the technique of driving and the width of the stage doesn't really give us that room to put the car fully sideways and take the corner at high speed. So it's going to be new for everyone. Safari definitely has its challenges, one of them being the number of wildlife on the stages, another being obviously the excitement of the general public, and then there is the heat, the roughness, the physical, the demand of on your body for performing in these extreme conditions, depending on obviously whether it's raining or not. But it's a whole load of safari unique characteristics that will make it very different from what they're used to. But again, I would compare it to Turkey, because that's a very rough rally too.
That was Ian Duncan in the background we saw going past there with the safari, I think it was.
I think that's actually from Arusha, where we managed to bag the second win of our career rallying.
Fantastic. But an element that I find unique about the Kenyan sport is you've also got your own characters in the sport. And over the years with the East African Safari, there's been a number of them. Now you see most of them in the classic side of it. But unique cars and unique characters, who would stand out in your opinion? We have in South Africa, we have the likes of Sarel van der Merwe and Hannes Grobler, who are well known to everybody. Who do you consider the characters of Kenyan rallying?
It's well, it's a tricky question. That obviously, it's rallying is here. I think in Kenya it's a bit tense, and there's always this, let's say, political cloud over everyone's head. during events, and it's for it's sometimes a very serious environment, and nevertheless, you do have clowns here and there, and then people with their random cars. Um, but it's always fun. It's always fun. It's always nice. I definitely would consider Ian Duncan as one of these fanatics with his very random contraptions. But those are cars I'd love to have in my own garage. So it's very cool what he does. He enjoys every bit of it. I'm sure he's trying his best to get a sponsor and get a car ready for Safari, but it's not easy. It's not easy at all, and I hope for the best for him and for the rest of us. But yeah.
You mentioned you had your second overall victory in Arusha. Are you comfortable with the car as it is now? It seems a very short time to adapt to an R5. The R5 was almost, the Ford Fiesta is so new in R5 that it almost sounds like you've got the first one as far as I'm concerned. But it's great to see the M Sport involvement. It's great to see you having that association with Malcolm Wilson. Of course, in South Africa, we familiar with Mark Ronier and John Williams in the Cecil colours, dominating the South African scene. It must give you a great positive feeling for this event, knowing that you've got a car that compares with the best in the world.
Yeah, very, very well said. Mentally, it does help. Like I said, we are at a position whereby we have everything it takes now to be able to compete and to be able to perform, and God willingly win with the equipment and the assets and the team as a whole. It's not just about the car. 50% is preparation before the rally. Other 50% is what happens during the rally, including maintenance and the co-driver and all of his actions and mistakes. So everyone plays their part. Very well stated that it is a very short time to get used to the car, and I wouldn't say I'm used to it yet. I'm still trying to drive it like I would drive my Subaru Impreza, because I started with a very, very old car, very manual car, no diff, no center diff, and fully manual with clutch. So I developed driving skills that were adequate to handle that car. And then came the Evo 10, and I still took some habits over to that car. And now we're in the Fiesta, and there's certain things I need to work on, and that will improve the driving. So very, very far from being 100% on the ball all the time in that car, but we are getting there.
May I ask another question, which is not meant as a trick question, but in Africa, the Skoda seemed to be the popular car in R5. You made an interesting choice going for the Ford. Is there a specific reason for that? Or I don't know. You've got to tell us.
Yeah, so just to set the record straight, Manvir and Rajbir. So Manvir Baryan had a Ford Fiesta, and so did Rajbir Rai. They both had a Ford Fiesta. So I wouldn't say I was the first. There is Leroy Gomez in Zambia, I think. Yeah, and he's running an R5. So there's at least 3 R5s now on the continent as we speak, that I know of. And the Skoda was there. It had a very good driver behind the wheel, and hopefully he'll come back for some events. But I think it's all about also who's behind the wheel, and the car definitely is a different car. I think the Fiesta has a bit more power. The Skoda has a bit more handling capabilities. and they all have their own qualities, so to speak. So when we're deciding how to get the car and which car to get, obviously having worked with M Sport in the past for the JWRC, that was my my go-to, and I'm quite happy that Malcolm managed to give us a very pleasant offer on the car, and some extra added benefits, which really made it a very like a no-brainer basically to go for the car. And not to mention, ever since we have got the car, M Sport are, I think, the leaders in customer service when it comes to after sales support in the outside category, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Without wanting to sound negative, it's Africa. You're in the center of in the middle of the African continent. Maintenance must be a challenge on a sophisticated modern rally car. I would presume that that's part of the argument. That's part of the reasons why you are keen on the M Sports element of it. You just mentioned they are good with their customer support, and that must be a consideration because you have sophisticated suspensions to look after. You have complicated engines to look after. And I can't imagine M Sport starting a shop in Kenya just for that purpose.
Well, yeah, you're very right. If M Sport ever do start a shop in Kenya for that very purpose, I'd like to be the first person on that list. But,
well, at least you can offer them an NDT element to it. So
yeah, exactly. Definitely could. So it's Malcolm's allowed us to rebuild the engine at our facility here. Let's call it our base. And so at base we will have the capability to rebuild the engine when the time comes. Those are very very hidden figures. So they wouldn't just give it to us unless we need those items. So up until then, we don't have any information about how to rebuild the engine. But I think Malcolm's a man of his word, and we will be given accorded that privilege, I suppose, to be able to do that here. And that's one of the reasons we did get the car. Another reason being the Riger suspension installed on the car are easily maintainable by our in-house rally champion Baldi, also known as Baldev Chaga, and he's an approved agent for Riger racing suspension. So after sale service, initial sale, customization of the suspension for any given car. Actually, you literally take your car to him. He measures it up, and he'll send you shocks for your car within a few months or weeks, depending on COVID now, I suppose. But those are the factors that that swayed us towards getting the Ford. And as I mentioned, the customer service, a very friendly team of experts, and I've heard a lot about customer service from other companies, and as you stated, we're in the middle of Africa. Well, to one side, and you definitely need someone with your best interests at heart when it comes to the upkeep of your car, because rallies are coming every 4 weeks. You can't be waiting 3 weeks for someone to process an order for you. And happily we don't have we have a very good after sales support team to help and cater for our every need. So I have nothing negative to say about M Sport and especially the people we've been directly communicating with.
So you touched on earlier that when you got in a new navigator, right? there were certain differences between how you normally prepared your notes in the car versus going into the JWRC. What is the aspects that you are taking away or that you've learned from being involved with M Sport on the maintenance and the prep side of the car that you're implementing that differently in your team currently, especially on the R5 now?
Well, I'm not sure if you know, but the R5 literally comes with a manual, and being an aircraft engineer, I'm very, very familiar with that. We have exams every day, manuals to read daily, and we basically work based on procedures written by experts, and these procedures must be interpreted in certain ways. And having said that, when we did buy the car, when we did offer or ask for the car, we were told that you'll be able to come, and we actually went to the factory. For myself, it was the second visit there. The first being when we did the DMAC Drive Fiesta Trophy. So we were shown quite some insight into the car, into how to rebuild the diff. We did have a go at the engine shop, just a look around, a bit of a talk through about the engine. We saw a car being built actually from scratch up to the point where it was ready for me to test it. We were there for at least 6 or 7 days at the factory most of the days, and very, very, like I said, I'm very honored to have been given that privilege.
Would you be making use of an M Sport service crew, or you totally in-house now? You're totally independent. You're just getting support from M Sport as such going on to these events. And at the same token, you spoke about having an international navigator with you in the JWRC. You're back with your normal navigator now, or your regular navigator now. How much change has happened between you and him in growing into the new format and a new car, preparing for Safari?
Okay, so with the new co-driver, I think for him it's been a bit of a change in the format in which we are calling the notes. We both compromise a bit. He uses his old words in places that he used to use the same word when we used to sit together before. So, for instance, I might say flat left to describe a left-hand corner, which is quite a very low-grade, low-angled corner, which you could be on very high speed on. And he's now made it a max left. So Phil would say flat, and now Tosif, who's my current co-driver, uses the word max. And we still use a number system. Numbering is something I adapted, again, going into the JWRC, watching onboard videos of other rally drivers, and literally just learning a lot of simulation and gaming on PC. So Colin McRae Dirt Rally also uses numbers, so that also swayed my opinions a bit. Yeah. I would kindly ask you to repeat the first question, Patrick.
Basically, what I was trying to find out is how much of your support team going on to the events have been trained by M Sport. Do you have a representative from M Sport going with you, or are you totally independent from the factory as such? And because that is also you must have total faith in what your crew is capable of.
Okay, so we have the same team maintaining the car since 2014. They have also experienced the changes in the cars. They have also experienced the new techniques and the new maintenance procedures for each cars. And once again, very, very thankful to have this privilege, in that, cars require very, very thorough maintenance and keen eye on inspection, and pre-race inspection, post-race inspection, cleaning it properly. And I'm very thankful to have someone in charge of that, who has a very very keen passion for me to perform, for us to perform as a team, and for his cars to perform. They are his cars, because once the rally is over, they go to him, and for him, those are his babies. So
Absolutely.
we have the same team, the same one guy who's in charge of that maintenance team, who's the most passionate man I've met when it comes to taking care of these cars. There's no way to rush him to get a car out of the garage up until he's put in the last tie wrap to tidy up the smallest imperfection, even that you would maybe overlook. So, that's the type of team we have working on the car. Very mechanically experienced also, and I where he has a gap in knowledge of maybe carrying out specific tests or using specialist equipment, he does consult me. And given the fact that I'm heavily invested in maintenance of aircraft, I don't see the R5 really as a threat, as some people might see it as a very expensive car that requires very expensive people to maintain, with a very, very vast knowledge of and you pay a lot of money, which is fine. We respect everyone and their jobs and their experience, but for me and for the team and for my family, it's actually, we really trust the people who take care of the cars up to now, and we felt that it'd be best that we take this chance, because we are a team, and everything is done together upon consultation. So the car is in good hands with written procedures that that explain everything, and given intervals on what to inspect, when to change, what to change. So it's as simple as that for us. We don't need we haven't looked into getting any outside assistance.
Fair enough.
And that's great, because it builds that spirit in the team also of confidence, and especially you come from an Evo 10, right? And let us just touch on the Evo 10 versus the R5, because both is four-wheel drive. Obviously, there's this changes, but how did that those changes from going from an Evo 10 to R5 affect your driving style? And then also a confidence.
Okay, well, the Evo is a longer car. Number one, it's a heavier car. Number two, number three, it's a H pattern gearbox. So we've come a long way from a fully manual Subaru Impreza to sequential, not a sequential, but a crush or dog box, which is a H pattern gearbox, and then to sequential. So the Evo is obviously requires a bit more physical input to drive. Very powerful car, a good top speed compared to the R5. So it does have its pros and its cons, just like everything, really. And coming from the Subaru, which doesn't assist you much, gives you a very, very how do you say? You're driving everything about the car, basically. Whereas when it comes to the Evo, you do have a brain in it, which has all these sensors for the yaw of the car and the movement, and it monitoring the speed of each wheel. And this made it a bit easier to drive, although it's a Group N car, so you do have a lot of when I say Group N, there's two versions of the Evo 10. You get the Group N and the R4. R4 being a bit more of a rigid structure, which eliminates the use of any rubber bushing, which between the joints of the moving parts, basically, like your arms and the suspension mounting. So the Group N has a lot of rubber in it, and this rubber has a lot of give and flex. So the Evo 10 Group N can be said to be a bit soft and a bit it has a bit of a delay and a bit less pointy, and a little less accurate when it comes to the driving characteristics of that car compared to Evo 10 R4, which can be closely related to the Ford Fiesta R5, because the handling of the R4 and the handling of the R5, I don't think, are very far off. And the R4 is already 80 kilos lighter than the Group N version of the same car. So it's a bit lighter. The only benefit of the R5 then between the R4 and the R5, I think, would be the shorter wheelbase and the lighter weight. It definitely stops better than the Evo, but the Evo definitely goes better on top speed runs than the R5. So, you have to weigh options, and the stages will dictate which car is better suited for that particular event.
Yeah. It's quite interesting because you have some traditionalists that says no, they will stick with the Evo, but the brute force of having driven in some of the Evos, it's very deceptive versus if you look at the cars with the sequential and especially the S2000s, that's a bit more natural. That's naturally aspirated, so you have more noise feeding into your driving. And tell me, for coming back to the driving style and also for the future, has there been any involvement with, and I know you mentioned early on in terms of some Kenyans that has trained you, but have you consulted some of the international training consultants, especially with inside of the JWC time, or even now, just to up the game? Because, like you mentioned, also mentally and psychologically, there's a lot of work that the person needs to do in order to stay consistent on that level.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely we sought the guidance of an expert to be like a team manager for us throughout the events, and that happened to be Tapio Laukkanen. So he was sort of guiding me and helping us through the organization up to the service and some shakedowns. So Tapio was there alongside. That was about it.
Okay, no, that's good. Patrick, I know Patrick is going to come back to the Safari event, and if we look at the field of the cars that's planning to enter, how many R5s are potentially planning to enter the Safari event from Kenya?
I'm not sure. From Kenya, I mean, there's 3 R5s in Kenya. Well, 4 R5s in Kenya. So best guess is all 4 of them.
That's a simple question to answer in the sense, Clint, that it doesn't matter as long as you're the first R5 to get to the finish.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it. But nevertheless,
opposition is only a problem if they're ahead of you. If you stay ahead of them, it's no problem. And this young man has got great aspirations, and I think he's got a very positive attitude towards it. And it would be great to see Kenya step up and live up with the best in the world, because that's what you're basically going to test yourself against.
Yeah, very right. And we're hoping for the best. May the best man win. The best team win. And we hope that the safari will stay with us for a couple of years, if not more. It's just down to the management of the public and the funds allocated. Obviously, the funds must not be mismanaged, so that will not be very good for the records when it comes to how we performed with when there's audits and whatnot. So there's many variables that can affect the existence of the safari for Kenya, but we're hoping that whatever it may be, it shouldn't be anytime soon.
Okay.
Wow. You have a beautiful country, a beautiful place for a rally. I don't think there's a rally in the world that can compare to the photographs over the many years of the safari. It's simply awesome, whether it's just nature or the toughness of the event. It really lives in the photographs and the videos of the safari. And some legendary names have stepped through this. I'd love to say that in a couple of years' time, we'll speak to you as one of those legends.
Well, we can hope to God that happens. I personally will, and yeah, for sure, I'd be honored to speak with you guys again, even if it's before the safari once again, or after. We'll see how we perform against the WRC2 teams, because that's going to be a challenge. Although we this is home turf now, so there is an advantage.
Yeah.
There's an element I would love to touch on as well, Clint. We've just had our own media man in the background there, but Karan, the listeners out there, how do they follow your activities? You must be on social media. You promote yourself a little bit. How can people follow all the action leading up to the Safari Rally now?
And potential sponsors. Don't forget the sponsors, right? Potential sponsors.
Yeah. We're always looking, definitely looking for sponsors. You can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Instagram tag is Karan Karan.Patel.Racing, and Karan Patel Racing on Facebook is also one of the avenues where we can find all the updates.
And is there anything specific that you would like, from your perspective, to see people respond to you? In other words, what I'm trying to say is your fan base. Are you looking at a specific fan base, or I would love to see rallying. Oh, okay, let's stop this just where I am now. The world's become a small place thanks to social media or the electronic media. And what I'm trying to say by that is you can have a bigger international audience following you than you would even from your own country. That would, at the end of the day, be the goal, because then it really means that people are aware of your activities. So what's the message you're trying to send out to those potential followers of your team?
Well, support the young generation, the next generation. Look at us to at least be the next champions of the world and of our continents, and we in turn will be doing our best to serve the community with respect to motorsports, and do our best to influence and bring about more talent to the nation and the country we're in. Yeah.
Clint, you're young enough to still go and join this man's academy one day when he's got it up and running.
No, for sure. I've got a few youngsters in mind that can go. I think I'm past myself by that.
You'll get some special mates rates.
No, for sure. And and Thanks again. Thanks for coming on the show, and it's always great chatting to you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I know time is crucial, so
Got
we're
a
past the
4 a.m. wake up. That's normal wake up weekdays. So
it's another element that we'll touch on when the next time we speak to you, and that is how you
Why
prepare
not?
yourself fitness-wise for this event.
That's the fitness aspect. Yeah, we can speak again. I'm honored to have been on the show, and I'd be happy to be on again if you guys want. So,
no, for sure. Thank you.
We thank you very much for your presence, and
Thanks.
hopefully we'll follow this up with some more local guys. And we are really looking forward to seeing you bring back that title that you're chasing somewhere in the future. And I don't think it's that far off in the future as far as you're concerned.
Well, I hope not. I hope not. And I'll end it with lekker brew.
I think this man should come and rally in South Africa soon.
For sure. Thanks,
We'll be there soon.
Okay. Ciao.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.